Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and a Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Listeners, here we go. We are back. Unfortunately, still missing the Mike, my Pasho, my college roommate. If you're new to the show, this podcast started, I can't believe it, we're season 5, episode 8. And this podcast started right during COVID, where we wanted to connect and try and just put a good word out to the world. And here we are. We've been listened to in 58 countries, 808 cities now. I cannot believe it. And so if you're a new listener, welcome to the show. If you're a longtime listener, we love you and welcome back to the show. And we're in for a treat. We have Kem Frasier coming from Summerville, South Carolina. And the best place to find her is through the website. It's very cool stuff that she has going on in her life. But the best place is Chandler the Handler movie.com. And I'll put this in the show notes, but I will spell it for you. It's just Chandler, Chandler, the Handler, Handler movie.com. And then she also has her email, which is Kem, and it's not Kim, Kem, Kem, Frasier, Frasier at yahoo.com. So about our guest, Kem is the author of Chandler the Handler, You Can't Bully Me. Kem grew up in the South Bronx and unfortunately can relate to the helpless feeling of being bullied. Kem worked as a teacher for 18 years and recently decided to make anti-bullying her life's work. Presently, Kem spends her days in creative writing and as a licensed professional counselor working in private practice. Kem, thanks for having the courage to share your story and to be willing to take action towards making our world a kinder world. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like I mentioned in the intro, Mike and I started this to try and just help, one person at a time. And it's funny that one person more often than not has been me. So don't get it twisted, Kem. When I'm having my head down, I'm not on my phone. I try and stay as far away from that thing as I can. I'm taking notes. So so I've learned so much from this podcast and just getting to meet incredible people like you. And it's so fun, Summerville, South Carolina. I've never been there. You've never been out to California. And just to get to connect, with people and to realize that we're way more alike than we are different. And if we
absolutely
create this space to just see each other for who we are, and that we all have something special to offer this world, it's just going to make this such a better place to live. And so I thank you for doing what you're doing, because the work you're doing is going to make a big impact, and it already is.
I believe so, yes. Because as you stated, we have more in common than we have as far as differences. And we're all human beings. We all have the same needs. We all breathe the same air. So let's, enjoy that together, instead of fighting for something that we all have anyway.
Yeah.
We have that possession or the ability to love, to care, to be kind. It's just too easy to do the opposite.
It's crazy. You're not aware, but we have a thought of the day that is a quote that I picked after researching you. And what you just shared, you're going to be like, what the heck? How the heck did this guy do this? And I really didn't do it, because to be honest, not to get too religious on here, but I really feel like God sometimes just shines this light down and says, hey, that's the one to pick, and it always resonates. And I've used these, my profession, I've been a registered nurse for 33 years and I'm retired now. But I've coached high school, college, professional basketball, done a lot of different things. This is our second nonprofit that I would say my family runs, our give back to the community. But I always use these thoughts of the day in all these different spaces to keep me grounded, every work that I do. And so I said, all right, this podcast, this is going to be a big one because it's helped me so much. But here it is, and it's from Sidney J. Harris. Mm-hmm. The 3 hardest tasks in the world are neither physical feats nor intellectual achievements, but moral acts, to return love for hate, to include the excluded, and to say, I was wrong. Why
I love it.
Why would I pick that for you?
I think that resonates with me as far as the togetherness we should show one another, the kindness that we have already inside. That's more powerful than doing something negative. Being positive, accepting people for who they are, not trying to group people together, because we all are allowed to have our differences. But yet at the same time, that common thread means that we're all human. We're all people. And there's power in being a human being.
Yeah, and that's why I love the work that you're doing, and why this quote I think is so powerful. And Sydney uses the hardest task, neither physical feats nor intellectual achievements, but just moral acts. And again, all choices that we can make. Return love for hate, include the excluded, and to say I was wrong. And we're going to get into what you do. But even if you were just to take those three moral acts, bullying would not exist.
Exactly. It would not exist.
And so I always like, as we get into the show, I just want the listeners to get to know, who you are. And so this is a very broad question. You can take it any which way you want, but what was life like growing up?
Well, actually, life was pleasant, but yet it wasn't pleasant. When I say that, I had a mom that was very strong. She was a Southern mom. But we grew up in the South Bronx. My sister and I have two brothers as well. And the South Bronx was an area that started out pretty nice and clean. And then through the years, things got really wild, whereas people started doing drugs, kids 12 and 13 years old, skin popping, jumping off roof, killing themselves, 12-year-olds having babies, some of them, 2 or 3 of them, and just doing nothing with their lives. We lived in a tenement building. It was like 6 stories high, and we lived on the 3rd floor, Willis Avenue. And I would step across junkies every morning to go to school, to go down to a school that I had to try out for. My high school, that was neighborhood high school, was very violent, so I didn't want to go there. And I had a 5th grade teacher. She was very inspirational. She said, you can put your mind anywhere you want it to be. Just because you live in an urban area does not mean your mind has to stay put there. And that's what I did. I reached out. I became an artist. I applied for high school of art and design, and I got in. Now, here was this low poverty girl, African American, and I went to a school that was filled with European people, rich people, but everybody was everybody. There was no distinction. Well, you're Black and you're poor. No, we were into the art. We did sculpturing. We did draping for some of the famous stars. We dressed them. I did a little modeling for Mademoiselle. So life was good on that side of the track. But coming home was where the problem started. My mom, she was strict. 8 o'clock, get off the stoop, go to bed, because the guns would start flying then. People, we wake up to people dead on the street that night. We didn't watch TV. There was too much action in the streets. It was just total chaos. But I thought that's the way people lived. I knew no better. But then when I grew up and started exploring the different situations in other people's lives, I realized that I thought I had a good life, but really I felt like I was a conqueror. I conquered the negative situation I was dealt with. I was bullied as a child, even though I would walk down the street and there would be some girls coming my way. Now they were speaking Spanish and I didn't know Spanish. So I could tell by their facial expressions, I was going to be into trouble real quick. So I pretended like I was having an epileptic attack. And they ran from me because they were looking at me like, oh, we got to get away from her. She's crazy. So I had to do something, you see. But that what kind of way, what way is that for a child to live in fear? Yeah. Most of my friends are not alive today because they've chosen a different path, you see, and it is a choice. No matter where you live, you still have a choice. Bullying, for instance, there's a choice. You can either communicate your feelings peacefully or try to force your feelings or your thoughts or your belief on someone else. Well, it's not fair to the other person because we should share each other's thoughts, not force it on one another, because that's not being together at all or united. We all have, like I said, we all breathe the same air. But going back to the Bronx, it was quite a nightmare. But at 12 years old, I was able to get my working papers, and I worked at Harlem Hospital at 12, giving kids my age, methadone shots while they were giving birth to their babies and withdrawing. I was petrified, but I knew this is not the way I want to live my life. This is not me. I will not wind up like this because this is no life at all. The 12-year-old looked like she was 60. Track marks up and down there aren't, and the parents, who knows where they're at? There are none, you see. So parents have a huge responsibility, more so now than back then, because the world is filled with all kinds of devices. You got social media for the good and the bad. You got all this TikTok, this, that, and morals has gone out the window. So parents have a lot to do when it comes to rearing their children in a way that's going to be productive. And really, it's not about words. It's about actions. It's about how they live. Kids watch us. Our children watch what we do. Sometimes they don't hear what we're saying, but they do watch what we do. So we need to make sure that what we say matches with what we do. Because once we break that trust, we've lost them to the world.
Yeah, you're saying so many great things. I want to unpack a couple of things here. Because they jumped out at me, and living where you lived, it sounds like you were raised by an incredibly strong mother that gave you the guidance that you needed to be with us here today. But it also, in listening to you, it sounded like that fifth grade teacher kind of maybe gave you hope or belief or something. It seemed like she was pretty special in your life. And have you ever followed up with her when you were an adult or years down the road to let her know the impact that she made and probably change the whole trajectory of your life? I'm just guessing.
I looked for her everywhere all through my years. I never found her. I think she passed away shortly after I became an adult. But she was a fine woman. She was very proper. Back in those times, we couldn't wear pants. We had to wear dresses. And I loved her mannerism. That's why I became a teacher, because I loved the fact that she helped everyone. She was Italian. She was from Long Island. She lived in Long Island, and there was no racism, none of that. She just loved people. And that's what I am. I mimic myself after her. Love people. That's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I love you sharing that. My wife gets upset at me because I like getting T-shirts, especially for our nonprofit. But my next one that I'm going to order here pretty quick is going to have love just across the center of the shirt. And obviously, we use pizza to help life. Yeah, I kind of skipped the intro. I just wanted to get going to this. But this show is part of a nonprofit. And the nonprofit does like team building, leadership development in that space. we use homemade hand-tossed sourdough pizza.
Oh, wow.
The best in each other. And so anyways, this shirt, I'm going to have love. The V is going to be a slice of pizza. And then underneath that is just going to say, is always the answer.
Oh, that is wonderful. I like that. That's pretty good. Yeah.
And it's just, and you look at, again, you talked about taking action, and you look at our thought of the day, to return love for hate, to include the excluded, to say I was wrong, all things of people kind of coming together and taking action towards what I would say in our space is rising together to be there for each other.
Yes.
So powerful for you. And we'll get back to this in a second, because I know a little bit about bullying, but just to have that one caring adult can be enough to totally change a life around. And you're the best example of that. Your fifth grade teacher. And not that I want to force you to, but throw her name out there. Maybe
her name is, Mrs. Pisacani. I'll never forget her. Yes.
Maybe somebody related to her is going to listen into this and know that their grandma, whoever she was in that space, made such a big difference in their lives. But I also want to ask you, you use this word conqueror. When you were bullied, where do you think the strength came from to attach that description of yourself as a conqueror?
It came from my mom, because she was from South Carolina, and her mom made her drop out of school to wash clothes back in the day, in the 1930s. And so she didn't finish school, but I think because she didn't, she inspired me. She seen that I had a love for education, the same love I think she had, but wasn't able to fulfill. And in some ways, it was fulfilled through me, through all the spelling bees that I went through, and all the scholarships that I won, and all the different avenues that I explored. She enjoyed it, and she was right there with me every step of the way. We need our parents. Yes, we do. Children need their parents.
Yeah. And how old was your mom when she had to drop out of school?
She was in 7th grade, so she might have been 13, 14, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Life is crazy like this. My wife and I don't watch a crazy amount of TV, but I love the shows that try and give an accurate portrayal of what life was back in a different time of history. So 1923 with Harrison Ford, I really appreciated that show from the standpoint of how blessed we are to live just by no action. You've been talking about action, by no action of our own, to be born where you're born, be born to who your parents are, and then looking at your mom, who I'm sure wanted to be in school, but had no other choice. She had to help her family make ends meet.
Yes.
That came in the form of busting her butt to work every day, washing clothes, and then to see her wanting you to have a better life and to be there for you. And just like you said, the parents have such a powerful role in the development of their children. And I believe every last parent who gives birth to their child does want a better life, whatever that means for them, than they had growing up.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So,
and you know what? It doesn't take much. There's some parents that may feel like, as long as my children or my child have all the material things, that's what they need. That's all they need. That's too easy. All they need is love.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And that is what is essential in building strong people. Giving that love to a child empowers them, and it's highly contagious. You see? Now, on the other hand, the other situation, abandonment or neglecting a child, does the opposite. It makes them angry, resentful, and hateful because guess what? They didn't get what they needed. So they might think, why should you? Why should you get what you need when I didn't? So trying to understand the mind and the heart of a bully, you might feel more pity for them than anything else because they're lonely people. They want to be included. They want to feel valued. You see, somewhere along the line, they were devalued. You see, and so we need to look at that part of the bully. They need help.
For sure. And we'll get in. That's a good segue into one, I want to congratulate you on just your creative ability. And two, I don't know how old you are, and it doesn't matter. I'm getting old. I'm all gray. And
I'm old. I'm 69.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on achieving that. And don't take this the wrong way, but you're almost 70 years old and you're dedicating your life towards eliminating bullying and just making a difference and allowing people to be loved and to share the love. And so, yeah, just congrats and thank you for at this point in your life, taking action. And it's not easy work to do. But let's jump into your book, real quick, Chandler the Handler. And so cool, listeners, that Kem is in the first stages of going to make her book a reality in a movie. And I know she's going back to the South Bronx to film it. And make sure you go to her site, chandlerthehandlermovie.com. I know she's looking for some financial support to get that funded. But yeah, let's tell the listeners, again, what Chandler the Handler is all about.
Chandler the Handler is about a little boy who was born and raised in the urban area, similar to the area I lived in, when his bike was stolen by these bullies. So Chandler he's astonished that, you're taking my bike. And so the guys take his bike and then he says, hey, do you guys like baseball? And they're looking at him like, what is he talking about? He says, Chandler says to them, I've got some free tickets here. I'd like to give these to you. Let's all go to the baseball game together. They really think he's off his rocker then because they're like, we just stole this guy's bike and he's inviting us to a baseball game on him. And they do accept the invitation and they decide after having fun and doing things with Chandler, they decide to give him his bike back without him asking. The heart is still there. The heart is still alive in every child to do the right thing. So basically, Chandler is the leader or champion of changing people's minds and hearts from being negative and cruel and harsh to being kind and empathetic.
Powerful. Incredible. Is it going to be like a full length movie or just like a short story kind of for it?
It's going to start out as a short film and then it's going to be a feature film.
Okay.
So the first part of it is going to talk about the beginning, but there's so many other chapters to Chandler as he grows up through elementary, middle, and high school, and there's some other things that happened during the feature film.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. And I don't know in your capacity, I know you work as a licensed counselor. I don't know what space that is. Is that an MFT or what is your?
It's an LPC, licensed professional counselor. Yeah.
Okay. How much of your counseling have you dealt with people that have been bullied in that space? And is that another part of like, man, I grew up dealing with this and then now I'm in my counseling kind of role and I still see the effects of people coming into me and struggling. And it is crazy of how, even you're 69 now, you said, and I think you were talking about when you were way younger, and it still kind of can get triggered inside you to bring you right back to that space, How much of your career now is kind of in one way or another still, dealing with bullying?
A lot of it is. From children to adults, the effects of bullying that I hear from my clients is unbelievable. It takes me back, but it's even a bigger problem today because it's become people's norm. They think this is normal behavior. You see? And so trying to change what they've been taught, it takes a community to do that. It takes all of us. You
For
see?
sure.
We have, people were fist fighting back in the day when I was growing up. They're bringing guns to school now. And we're not talking about just high schoolers. We're talking about elementary school too.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, and it's such a difficult space. Unfortunately, so many problems that we're dealing with throughout the world. There's not any easy solutions. And this one, that quote can definitely help people take action towards it. But like you're saying, it's ubiquitous. And then all you have to do, and this isn't a political show. This is a show about essential ingredients. And I don't get into it, but you just look at who's running our country. And it's like, that's the biggest bully that there is. And
absolutely.
A second, if I'm a young person, normally I'm going to go look to who the president is, look to who the leader is, and say, okay, that's how I'm supposed to do it. But no, you can't. Where do young people go to see a role model of just doing things the right way? And that's part of our problem, where it does, like you were saying, takes the whole community, takes a village.
Absolutely.
To realize that there are always people watching, especially young people, and we need to take action towards role modeling the best way to treat each other with love and respect. And I know you love the word kindness, and it's incredible, the numbers, just in getting ready for this, I just looked up real quick and just went to stopbullying.gov. So hopefully that's legitimate numbers. You try and get accurate ones, not coming from some other website, but that's a government site.
Right.
Whatever that means, who knows? To find the truth now. But just to be clear, bullying is an imbalance of power. And then also on top of that, of the repetition, of going again and again. And there's different types, social, physical. 35% of parents are worried about their children getting bullied at school. 50% of teens say online harassment and bullying are a major problem. Nearly half of all U.S. teens, and I don't know how many millions that is, but a lot have been cyberbullied. And 19.2% of 6th through 12th graders report being bullied kind of consistently. And so my question to you, these numbers, again, real quick, are just kind of ridiculous to know that there's way higher than that,
oh, yes.
But what if there's a parent listening, what signs and symptoms would you have them kind of keep an eye out of changes going on in their children that maybe they don't know that they're getting bullied because, the kid's just scared to tell their parents?
Absolutely, yes. First of all, I encourage parents to develop a real strong relationship, a close bond with their children. Have the open door policy. That means you can come to me and tell me anything. I may not want to hear it, but let me know anyway, because I'm going to try to help you. So once you have that kind of communication with your child, and they might feel ashamed of the fact that they allowed themselves to be bullied. They might even blame themselves. So if you know your child, you may see them stay in their room a little bit longer than normal, isolate themselves, feeling sad and down, not wanting to do anything. Maybe depression has onset. There's an onset of depression. Then you need to talk with your child and find out what's going on at school. And make yourself present at school once a week, once a month. Go to the school and see what's going on with your child.
Yeah, those are great tips. And again, we're staying in the children's space, listeners, but you know better than me that this is applicable in the workplace and every other place. I mean, bullying affects everybody, everybody. But we're just narrowing the focus down on children in this example. But yeah, and the effects of being bullied, and you mentioned, depression, anxiety, health complaints, their grades start falling. Unfortunately, even the bully has so many, like you mentioned before, Kim, they're hurting, and
Yes.
hurt people, and
Right.
the bully, there's so much evidence to them increasing as they get older, high risk behaviors, of experimenting with alcohol, fighting, early sexual activity, abusive relationships as adults, and the bystander, people that are just there thinking, oh, at least it's not me. Well, there's consequences.
It is you.
Increased tobacco use, increased alcohol use, mental health issues, increased absence in school. Like you mentioned several times, it takes everybody to stand and say, this is not the way that we want to treat each other. And love is the answer.
It is. And also, there is a slew of movies and videos, and they're all focused on violence. So we want to start making some new movies, some new videos focused on kindness. At least there's a choice out there. Give them a choice. Yeah. You see? But if you just flood the market with one type of movie or one type of entertainment, that's all they have. So we're trying to start this trend of showing children how to act in a way that's going to encourage them and build them up and make them feel good about themselves. These kinds of videos, films, and movies are going to promote the kindness attitude, the empathy that you can have for people. And I'll tell you what, when children are bullied or the bullies become older children, I should say, they develop, it's the Karen attitude. So the bullies have the Karen attitude as adults. So they're in the workplace thinking, I'm better than you, you're nobody, I'm somebody, and guess what? I rule the show. That came from a bully attitude as a child that never got fixed.
Yeah. Dan, I just forgot the word you used, but I was gonna. I forgot the word, but I wrote down revolution instead.
Yes.
You're trying to change it. You're trying to create a revolution of love and to get rid of this bullying. So my question is, do you have plans for like teaching the life skills, I would say with the kindness and respect and love that are going to be part of your movie, or you have to put in all your energy towards getting the book and the movie and all that stuff tightened up? Or do you plan on doing outreach and actually taking action towards using your counseling background and doing workshops for people to get these skills?
Yes, absolutely. This film and the promotion of anti-bullying should be in every single school nationwide. It is just as important as the academic skills, or maybe more so, because children's lives are at stake. We want to teach them something better than what they're learning from the social media or anywhere else about violence. We want to get them away from that, at least show them the negative effects of what bullying can do to a person. Show them a different side.
Yeah, no, I love it. Again, listeners, we're on with Kem Frasier. Her website, ChandlerTheHandlerMovie.com. Go there, check it out. You can reach out to her that way as well. And then you can also support her financially to get this movie funded. She's in the process of raising funds for that. So it'd be great to support her there. And Kem, it's been great. All the information and some of the listeners, some of the stats that I've been throwing out just came from stopbullying.gov. So if you're a parent looking for a resource, I think, in researching this, I looked at several different sites. That was the one that jumped out at me. Stopbullying.gov. So you can check that out. And Kim, I have kind of one last kind of statement question thought for you, and it's a quote from John Alston. And it's, the only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind. And I know you told me you're 69 years old. You got so much passion and love in you. I'm going to give you let's give you another 35 years of living. And, but you're now on your deathbed and you're getting ready to take your last breath, and you're surrounded by love and the people who have been instrumental in your life. What is it that you want to leave behind as you get ready to go home?
I would like to leave behind the power behind community love and kindness, and how it really exerts brilliance and togetherness and unitedness to people of all kinds everywhere. How we could spread our whole community with one emotion. That's love. And that's what I would leave behind. Absolutely.
And we can't take us home any better way than that. Again, listeners, check her out, ChandlerTheHandlerMovie.com. We've been on with Kem Frasier. We've been season 5, episode 8. Can't believe it. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode. Boom, baby. That just happened. We out.